We start here in Japan, where people observed a day of mourning for those killed 10 years ago on March 11th, when a massive earthquake and tsunami struck northeastern Japan and triggered a nuclear catastrophe.
黙祷。
People observed a moment of silence at 2:46 p.m., the exact moment the magnitude 9 quake struck. The quakes generated a tsunami over 10 meters high, killing 15,900 people. 2,525 others remain unaccounted for. The government has held a memorial ceremony annually, but the coronavirus pandemic forced the cancellation of the event last year and limited the number of attendees this year. Bereaved families spoke about their loss and how they're trying to move on. Saito Makoto lost his 5-year-old son in the tsunami. He says he doesn't want his death to be a waste.
私は小学校に勤務していますので、学校現場を通して自分が震災を経験し感じたことを子どもたちに伝え、命の尊さなどを教えていきたいです。このように震災を風化させない取り組みを行い、震災の教訓を語り継ぐ決意です。
Omi Chiharu survived the tsunami, but the inn she worked for was destroyed.
すっかり様変わりしてしまった苦しい状況の中で、日本各地、そして世界中の方々からたくさんのご支援と温かいお言葉をいただいたおかげで、少しずつ生活を取り戻し、希望を見出して前を向くことができました。
This is the first time Emperor Naruhito and Empress Masako attended the ceremony. The couple repeatedly visited the affected areas and encouraged survivors before the emperor ascended the throne in 2019. At the ceremony, the emperor said, while he feels reconstruction has been progressing, various problems still remain. He added his heart aches when he turns his thoughts to those who've struggled.
今後、困難な状況にある人々が誰一人取り残されることなく、一日でも早く平穏な日常の暮らしを取り戻すことができるように、復興の歩みが着実に実を結んでいくよう、これからも私たち皆が心を合わせて、被災した地域の人々に末永く寄り添っていくことが大切であると思います。私も皇后とともに、今後とも被災地の方々の声に耳を傾け、心を寄せ続けていきたいと思います。
Prime Minister Suga Yoshihide stressed his government's commitment to leading reconstruction efforts. He also said Japan's history of natural disasters has created resiliency in its people and vowed the country would follow past examples of courage and hope. Those who escaped the initial disaster continue to face hardship. The trauma, combined with the physical stress of evacuation and other complications, has so far claimed 3,775 lives. At one point, more than 110,000 people were in prefabricated temporary housing. A decade on, people are still moving into permanent homes like this complex, which the government completed just a few months ago. Tens of thousands of people are still unable to return to their hometowns, mostly because of the continuing danger posed by radiation from the Fukushima Daiichi nuclear plant. It suffered what's considered the world's worst nuclear accident since Chernobyl, and some districts of Fukushima Prefecture remain no-go areas. The Japanese government plans to complete decommissioning of the plant by 2051. The biggest challenge is how to remove radioactive debris from inside the reactors, where radiation levels are still extremely high. The plant's operator, Tokyo Electric Power Company, estimates there's close to 900 tons. TEPCO was planning to start removing debris this year, but the pandemic has forced the process to be delayed until at least 2022. Now, another challenge is what to do with more than 1.2 million tons of radioactive wastewater stored at the plant. The water is used to cool the damaged reactors. The government has not yet decided how to dispose of it. Now, TEPCO reiterated its regret over what happened, with its president stressing the need to continue improving the company's culture of safety.
I urge all employees to learn from the past and to do your best at your workplaces for the reconstruction of Fukushima and the future of Fukushima. Don't think this 10-year anniversary is the end of anything, and don't let the accident fade away. We will fulfill our responsibility to Fukushima.
Meanwhile, the head of Japan's nuclear watchdog has urged staff to keep improving guidelines and prepare themselves to face unexpected obstacles.
The fight for safety is a battle to reduce the number of unexpected events. It's essential to always keep your mind fresh.
The chair warned against reviving the so-called safety myth, referring to the idea that officials didn't properly prepare for what happened on March 11th because they didn't think it could ever happen. Other countries in the Asia-Pacific that have suffered disasters of their own have paid tribute to the victims in Japan. People in the Indonesian province of Aceh, which was hit by the 2004 Indian Ocean tsunami, say they want to remain in step with Japan toward reconstruction. About 30 people gathered for a memorial service on a beach in the provincial capital of Banda Aceh. They included disaster management officials and those who visited the disaster-stricken areas of northeastern Japan. Aceh lost over 160,000 people in the 2004 tsunami. The province continues to interact with Japanese communities hit by the tsunami in 2011. The participants sang a Japanese song about hope for recovery from disasters.
I visited Japan several times and understand how people there feel. My message is, let's learn from our experiences.
I'd like to tell people in Japan, never lose hope. We'll always stay positive.
In the southern New Zealand city of Christchurch, people rang a bell that came from Japan. The area was hit by a magnitude 6.3 earthquake in 2011 that killed 185 people, less than 3 weeks before the disaster in Japan. Students at a school that continues its interactions with children in northeastern Japan observed a minute of silence.
I think our countries have a lot in common, not just earthquakes and tsunamis, but also our culture. We look forward to that partnership continuing for many long years.
New Zealand's foreign minister wrote on Twitter, her country is proud to have assisted Japan and has not forgotten the support Japan provided after the Christchurch quake. China's National People's Congress has wrapped up its week-long session. On the final day, the body decided to change Hong Kong's electoral system to ensure what it describes as patriots are in charge. The move is apparently aimed at preventing pro-democracy advocates in Hong Kong from holding office. 2,895 voted in favor and none against, with one abstention. During the session, the vice chairperson said the existing electoral system has clear loopholes and deficiencies, and he added risks in the system needed to be removed.
The decision is to uphold the principle of patriots administering Hong Kong and ensure steady implementation of the one country, two systems policy.
The proposed changes are set to cover the election of Hong Kong's chief executive and legislative council. The details of the process will be decided later by the Congress's standing committee. The change has led to pro-democracy protests and concern from Western nations. British scientists say a coronavirus variant first detected in the UK is deadlier than previous strains. The research was led by the University of Exeter and published in the British Medical Journal on Wednesday. It compares two groups, each made up of about 55,000 patients who were infected between last October and January this year. Patients in the first group tested positive for the new variant, while members of the second group tested positive for previously circulating variants. Results show 227 patients in the first group died within 28 days of their first positive coronavirus test. That's compared to 141 deaths in the second group. Researchers say this shows the risk of death is 64% higher for someone infected with the UK variant. They added the spread of the new variant has made it more difficult to control the outbreak. And medical workers here in Tokyo have started receiving their second shots of a coronavirus vaccine. This hospital says about 800 staff had already had their first shots by Wednesday.
When the second shots take effect, we'll be able to come to work with even more peace of mind.
The health ministry says about 150,000 medical workers across the country have received their first shots. It says 25 had a serious allergic reaction called anaphylaxis. Authorities confirmed more than 1,300 new coronavirus cases on Thursday. More than half were in the Tokyo area. We turn now to a wining and dining scandal that's made headlines here in Japan. Senior officials at the Communications Ministry accepted lavish meals from people in the industry they oversee. And now a magazine says 2 former ministers were also treated to meals by telecom giant NTT while they were in office. Shukan Bunshun says 4 lawmakers in the main ruling party were treated to meals by NTT executives, including the company's president. Noda Seiko and Takaichi Sanae were ministers. Sakai Manabu and Terada Minoru were junior ministers. They all admit they dined with people from NTT while they were in office.
I regarded the dinners as private gatherings that had nothing to do with the communications ministry.
Noda says she found out NTT had paid some of the meal expenses and that she paid the company back. Takaichi wrote on her website she did not eat at NTT's expense while she was a minister. She says she always split the bill or picked up the tab when dining with people from businesses.
In Myanmar, security forces appeared to open fire on demonstrators in Myang, resulting in unconfirmed reports of deaths. Tanzania's opposition has demanded to know where President John Magufuli is. The leader has not been seen in public for almost 2 weeks. The U.S. Congress approves a $1.9 trillion COVID-19 relief plan. And in Japan, ceremonies across the country mark the 10th anniversary of the earthquake and tsunami that caused the Fukushima nuclear plant disaster.
Exactly a year after the declaration of the coronavirus pandemic, the European Union has approved a single-dose vaccine made by Johnson & Johnson. It's the 4th vaccine to be given the green light by the EU. It comes as a number of European countries have suspended use of the Oxford AstraZeneca vaccine over concerns that some people who've been given the jab have developed blood clots. Health authorities have stressed it's a precautionary measure. At least 7 pro-democracy protesters have been killed in a single day in Myanmar. A UN investigator described the military regime there as murderous and illegal. Thomas Andrews says the treatment of protesters could amount to crimes against humanity. And in his first public comment since Harry and Meghan's interview with Oprah Winfrey, Prince William has insisted that the British royal family is not racist.